Hi, everybody. Thank you, as always, for coming out to listen to the Project Ready podcast. Today, we're going to continue to work around this one theme that we've been working quite a bit, which is data process. And today, about work in the AEC as being driven by AI. So, I'll talk about the transformative processes that are coming into play in the AEC today, which is everything from modern cloud tools, the progress of different CDEs and tools out there, but more importantly, around AI and its impact. And today, we're lucky enough to have Dr. Sam Zolfagharian on the line today. She's the co-founder and president of YegaTech. And Sam, if you don't mind, why don't you just introduce yourself for everybody?
First of all, thank you so much, Joe, for having me on your podcast. I appreciate that. This is Samaneh Zolfagharian. I'm the president at YegaTech. At YegaTech, we are helping the architecture, engineering, and construction firms with their AI strategy and governance. Based on what happened in the last few years, most companies wonder where to start, how AI is going to impact our roles, responsibilities, even our business model. Shall I charge less because now I'm using AI? So we are helping them to navigate the space and understand the value that they can deliver to their clients and also to their employees.
Oh, and to their own bottom line too. I mean, I am from New York. It's always about the bottom line. So, um, and this does pick up on the themes that we've done earlier, like with Sala, who we both know, Sala Eckhart, we did garbage in, garbage out. So, the future of data is not this second, but the journey begins this second. Would you agree with that? Like, you're not just going to turn on AI.
That's true. Yeah. As you pointed out, like garbage in, garbage out, and AI eats data. We need data to build AI. And if we have low quality data or not even having enough data, we can build an AI system that could be impactful and can help us with what we want to achieve. And the question is people ask is shall I capture whatever data is out there? And that's going to be difficult. And the first thing that most of them do is just going building data lake. But on the other hand, we have some solutions platforms out there like Project Ready or other solutions that are out there that they can leverage. The question is which data you need to capture based on the AI strategy that you set so that you can accomplish your goal and achieve what you want to do with the AI power.
Yeah, and a data lake is a man-made lake, right? So you need to know how deep, how wide, and what kind of canoe to traverse it, if you will. And with the challenges in front of the industry right now, I mean, this is a 14, $15 trillion a year industry. There's a lot of pent-up demand for housing, certainly in the United States and worldwide. So talk to me how you think, just on a very quick level, how AI will help the industry deliver more of the built world.
So as you pointed out, 14 trillion dollars housing market that we have ahead, and in the meantime we are facing the global warming. So we build and then some of them they get destroyed with the global warming issues that we have, natural disasters that we have, like flooding in Florida right now. So how AI can help? The process of designing and building takes time, and the question is how we can accelerate the design process and also construction process with AI, how we can eliminate some of the repetitive tasks that we have within this process so that we can design and deliver faster. One of the things happened in the history 100 years ago was in the factory, everything was manual and people had to fasten bolts manually, but eventually with industrial revolution, some of those tasks are delegated to machineries, and that process has been accelerated, and that's why the economy of scale is possible today. With AI, I'm not saying that it's similar. AI is just a tool. It's just a little bit of a powerful tool because it can learn from the data that we have. And the question is, with that AI power that we have on our hand, how we can eliminate some of those high volume and repetitive tasks that we are doing through design and make more efficient decisions in terms of the design that we do so that we can meet the criteria. Maybe the cost, how I can pick up the building products that are cheaper so that I can build more economic house for low income families so that they can afford the price later down the road. In terms of energy, like energy is one of the main factors today that is impacting the global warming. The question is how I can optimize the building design and make it more energy efficient so that I can save and again make that house more economic for the low income families.
Yeah, carbon footprint, right? Carbon
Yes.
footprint is
Yeah.
my understanding is that the construction end of it certainly. I forget Ricky. I mean, sorry, Richard Metzel is yeah, something like that. Of the world's carbon is produced by the built world. So if AI can help you make more intelligent decisions quicker, well, that's very impactful all the way around.
I was going to say that 40% that you're highlighting is like it's throughout that design. Like as an architect, if I'm designing, like what, like you mentioned, like what factors I need to consider to make it more and like make critical decisions that are more efficient down the road, and also the building operations itself, like how we can make sure that not only through the design but also the operations is energy efficient.
Yeah, full life cycle. Now, so mentioned a data lake and the like, and so from our position, um, we really have built Project Ready as the scalable data warehouse to turn AI onto and to just standard analytics and search and the like, right? So we bind everything together by the project ID. It's highly scalable, and the information that we collate is selective, if you will. It's all in context. But tell me how your point about great, you built a data lake and you flooded the plane. Tell me about what you would advise people out there as they go on that journey to start to make sense of that data, to collate it, what they should be doing, and how you would approach it.
So the way that I'm looking at is like the companies, they invest millions of dollars and it takes them like a year, 2 years to build that data lake. And eventually, since they don't know which questions that they can get answered by that data lake turns into like data storm that is just there. They just dump all the data and they don't know how to use it. And it's really important to educate your executives and employees to understand how they can leverage data that is there so that you can make a use case of the data that you're capturing when you're thinking about either building data lake or going and outsource it from the existing data platforms that are out there. The second one is just not having policy. So today employees, they have like data lake or something similar. Employees have this freedom to store data wherever they want, and the context some context of the projects are missing from the data that we have. So that decision making is not going to be as efficient as it could be because there isn't any governance, any policy around how you capture data. Back in the time, Jeff Bezos had a policy to mandate APIs, like everyone should have them shared so that they don't have to do something repetitive, and also they could all his employees could have access to that. But how we can have such a similar policy regulation for our employees, so when we are storing data, we're capturing data, we know that we are capturing all essential and necessary data to make the business decision down the road. I was listening to the podcast you had with Shelly um, last week, and you brought up like 90% of the construction data project is lost. No one is leveraging that. But if we could have that regulation policies and making sure that employees know what to do with the information and where to store it, at least we can reduce that amount of data that has been wasted today. And the third one is going back, since we're talking about AI, in the book Augmented by Dr. Mehdi Nourbakhsh, he was using a metaphor as grocery shopping. So, and we are leveraging that metaphor in the current book that we are writing, Disrupted, because it resonated with many people when they're thinking about AI strategy versus data strategy. So, your AI strategy definitely must be aligned with your business strategy because AI strategy is not going to drive everything. It's your business. So you need to make sure that your AI strategy is aligned with your business strategy. But to make that AI strategy work, you need data, and that data is fed into your AI strategy. And it's like grocery shopping. You want to have a party. So first you need to know what you want to cook before going for grocery shopping. You can't just go and buy whatever is off on the shelf and bring it home and then just decide what you want to cook, because there will be some waste and you may forget to buy everything that you needed for a food that you wanted to cook. So that data is like that grocery shopping item, and AI is like that recipe. So if you know what you want to cook, you can follow it and make sure you have those ingredients in order to make it work. So just make sure your data strategy is aligned with your AI strategy, which should be aligned with your business strategy to make that whole ecosystem works well.
Yeah, basically, if you're gonna cook a lot of Mediterranean, make sure you have olive oil and garlic on hand.
Yeah.
Well, I keep a very well-stocked larder. I love to cook. But, there are some intrinsic challenges with this as well, and one of which is just to go to the social element of it, and Shaley, I would have you weigh in on this. We go to clients and we go, "Well, you should be doing this, your employee should be doing that." I find frequently you get pushback going, "Yeah, but my employees don't wanna do that." I don't know how you address that, but Shaley, haven't we met resistance like that?
Yeah, I think that is definitely one of the biggest problems with so many different systems and methods of doing things. Taking any workflow as an example, even within a company, no two departments, no two people are doing things the same way, which makes it very difficult in terms of that data warehouse that we are trying to build, that for the data to be consistent, to be able to track and log metadata properly, it needs to have that consistency. There are so many different systems, so many different ways of doing things. And as you mentioned, Joya, people don't really want to change how they're doing it. Some people are just using Excel, and some people are having various manual methods and different systems to set these things up. It's definite challenge to have that consistency even in a single organization.
Yeah, Sam, I think you mentioned Bezos at one point. He can make people wear adult diapers. He can do whatever he likes inside an institution. But I think one of the things that just struck me now, though, is you mentioned, this sort of triumvirate, the business drivers, the business needs, the data, and AI, and how they all have to fit together. And so, if you have a business strategy that you want to apply to AI, I would imagine it's easier to make the case to your staff as to why they want to embrace that and embrace that change. And let me ask you this: so, when you work with clients, what is the pushback you get from the rank and file, if you will, as it relates to AI?
It depends who you talk to. Some there are like a group of people, and definitely in every other industries we have this, that they wanna wait and see. They see it as a hype, and they wanna wait and see what happens, and if other companies who are embracing this change are going to have any ROI. And I would say in the next 10 years, if we look at in the next 10 years, we are in the slowest time in terms of AI advancement. It's going to like be faster in the next 5 to 10 years. So if I want to embrace it later down the road, I might be late to the game. So there are groups that they're just wait and see, want to see what happens. There are a group of people that like executives, they value AI and they're trying to get the buy-in from their CEOs. And it's difficult to convince them because they're like, we don't have capacity, we don't have time to think about AI, we need to deliver these projects. And they're trying to get the buy-in and convince their CEOs in order to do the investment. And the third one, I think it goes back to what you mentioned, Joe, earlier, like how we get our employees aligned. The CEO is on page, and the CEO is trying to see how he or she can align the whole organization with his or her vision that has in mind. And it reminds me of Simon Sinek's quote, like your employees buy why and then they support you in order to achieve your goal. If we can justify why we're doing it and why we should do that, it helps to justify it for our employees and get their buy-in. If we just ask them to do that, the challenge is like most of them are scared of losing their jobs. because they think if AI can do that, then am I going to be replaced by AI? So they may not be supportive of that initiative. But if they understand that AI is not going to be a replacement for them, it's just increasing the efficiency, making sure that they can uh, close their laptop, go home after 5 p.m. rather than working overtime or even during weekends. That's really a case for most of the clients that we're talking to right now. Then they will be supportive of that initiative. And our industry problem is not the tech problem. We have many solutions out there. We have over 10,000 solutions out there. It's just people problem, align them, getting their support. And one of the easy way is just making sure that they understand why, and also setting incentives. Like the incentives can be in terms of bonus, can be in terms of some encouragement award, setting metrics saying like if we can increase the data that we store in this structure in this manner by 10% by the end of this quarter, then we provide you this award, we provide you this, like something that could be like can make employees feel that they're rewarded for their contribution.
Yeah, mutually beneficial, right? So
Yeah.
AI will reduce rework, increase the efficacy of the bottom line, all that kind of stuff. So it shouldn't be just isolated to, okay, I got all the money, thanks, guys, right? So no, I agree, and there's a lot of movement everywhere now to try to go to a 4-day work week, which actually kind of makes sense to me. Um, but you won't be able to do that unless you can do things more efficiently with some level of automation.
I was going to say something. I was thinking about the past, what happened in the past, back to industrial revolution or even farming. In 1900, 40% of US employment, it was farming. But then with industrial machinery, with automation, it decreased to 2%. So I don't think like any of us want to go in a farm and do everything manually by hand today. It doesn't make sense to us. So most of those have been automated. And today we are in the digital world. And in digital world, there are some tasks that we're doing, like they're repetitive and in high volume. And the question is like, if we look at past, how we can automate some of these high volume and repetitive tasks so that we can be more efficient and focus on something else that we like. And back to your point, Joe, like how it can enable me, help me to have like 4 days of work rather than like being burnout.
6.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The quandary is, I guess, so for every shift in technology, everybody's always been worried about job obsolescence, and it's been job replacement. I think the thing though that is most concerning though is how quickly can the workforce adapt to take advantage, right? I think that's what actually scares people. But you mentioned like the rivet. I mean, a nail gun means you can build houses faster. It doesn't mean that carpenters are less valuable. It means that their valuable skills, which is carpentry, aren't getting bogged down using a hammer and a nail versus a nail gun, right? It's essentially the analogy. Yeah. And then one other thing I wanted to pick up on that you had mentioned was, it's like a 5-10 year journey. So there is hype around AI. I've made this argument, certainly as it relates to the stock market. What's been released, what it promises is enormous. But I don't know if it warrants like, stocks going up 120% within a year, right? So there's that overhype that I think really does exist. But to your point, it is here. And you have to be ready for this because, you know, companies who wait to the last minute will be former companies. They will no longer be in business. That's my absolute belief. All right, and even down to the so going back to you have to map out what you want from AI to align it to business processes. We did a podcast around Copilot with our friend Lou Gucciardo not too long ago. And Shayla, you've been working on Copilot to try to bring it into our stack. I know we're not quite there yet, but like talk about a bit like you have to actually tell AI, you have to give it a model to give you a return. Is that I'm probably doing a poor job of description, but can you pick up on that?
Yeah, definitely. Basically, in terms of the data that feeds into it, the models that are just available on the internet, it takes the data from all over the internet, the different websites. The more specific you make it, the more intelligent responses you'll get. Like talking about Copilot and M365, it now integrates to all of your documents, your emails, your conversations, and adding in any additional metadata and workflows that Project Ready works with, gives that feeds that data basically in like a whole project level approach where if you email somebody about something, you're having a conversation on Teams, and you have this workflow going on in Project Ready about, let's say, it's all about an RFI, but all of that is fed into this model. And because it's all kind of connected, it can give that intelligence response. But it's really important that that data feeds in correctly in terms of all the data that goes in would have the context of a project. And then it doesn't matter if the RFI is in Project Ready or Autodesk or Procore, but the whole team is kind of working on things around it. And then once that data is it can give you intelligent responses on what's overdue across projects, across programs, kind of information, which otherwise it would take you hours to sift through reporting and try to find that information. Here you can just ask Copilot something and it'll give you a whole detailed analyzed response of what's going on a project, why it's overdue. So I think it's very powerful, but it does need that right input of data to make it powerful.
Well, and even in the configuration, there was a video you had
Mm.
shared with me a few weeks ago where you have to train the AI model with what is essentially what the business value would be, if that makes sense, right? You have to train this model going with these parameters. Here's your trust level, and around these outcomes, which goes back to your AI strategy mapping to your business strategy, mapping to your data strategy, right? That's that triumvirate.
Yeah, it needs that data model to be fed in a way that it can learn from it for sure.
And back to your point about AI being hyped, I don't think we had a day that we didn't hear the word AI in the last 2 3 years, for sure. And one recommendation for people, audience who are listening to this podcast, and this is something that we recommend. There are many noises out there, and it's really difficult to find out what to do and filter all those noises. And one recommendation that we give our members, our clients, is trying to have inside out the strategy, which goes back to what Shirley and Joe they were talking about earlier. Like, know what you want to do, know what you want to solve, and then go look for solution out there. Otherwise, if you have outside in a strategy, that makes it difficult because you'll be in reactive mode and it's going to be tech fatigue for your employees, and you probably end up to be all over the place without any ROI. The ROI will be like a long-term process. It's not going to happen in like a night or 6 months or a year. You have to be patient, but make sure that you're not reacting to all noises out there. You have inside out the strategy rather than outside in a strategy when it comes to AI.
Yeah, you're right. There's a ton of noise out there. And being a New Yorker, Wall Street is sort of central to the entire area, right? It reminded me of, so when we had the major crash in 2001, I think it was, or whatever. Yeah, it was 2001. The dot-com bubble bursting. It wasn't that the internet didn't matter. Clearly it does. We're having a conversation using the internet. We're recording this over the internet. It just wasn't this instantaneous, if you will, pain-free journey. It required understanding what the business application was, building the proper infrastructure, what you would use it for, and development around it. And so it was a bubble, not because the internet wasn't, prior to AI, the most important thing that had been released. It's because its delivery, the desire of financial circles in large measure to monetize their value in the markets, that's where it becomes overhyped. And that's where I think it starts to drive the noise that you mentioned you do have to filter out. And it goes back to, all right, so if you thought the internet was a fad, it's not. And if you think AI is a fad, it's not. But like the internet, it's not going to happen overnight in terms of the benefit that you will see. But if you're ready for it, you can benefit from it. Well, let me ask you this. So, what are common? You talk about aligning AI to business needs. Can you give us some examples that working with your customers, some things that have some universal spark of interest?
Definitely, most like firms they're debating with lack of workforce. Even though we are saying that AI is going to take over my job, but we are still in like we are dealing with hiring, we're dealing with finding talents out there. So attracting the right workforce is a big challenge for this industry. And most companies, I would say all of them that I've been talking to, they're trying to see how they can manage their hiring process and can find the right talents based on what they want to do. And in that case, they want to see like how AI can help them with the resource management and how they can find out like for the projects that they have or they're going to work on, who to hire, how to navigate their skills, how to optimize it, because some employees might be overburdened with the amount of work and some of them may not have enough work, and how AI can help me to have visibility over the whole ecosystem of my organization to optimize the workload of my employees. And the other thing that they're trying to do in terms of RFP, so today they spend lots of time in terms of preparing the RFP and managing everything, and the ratio of winning a project is less, it's like 1 to 10. And they want to see if there is a way that AI can help them so that they can optimize that process, the RFP, and just move on to the next phase, as leverage that capacity resource for something else. Trying to manage, optimize the workforce, and trying to see like the repetitive tasks with what LLMs and enable today. They want to see like, okay, how it can enable and optimize my RFP process.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was about to. Seriously, there are two. So in conversations with Shaley, so there's 2 points here, and this is sort of we just did just released it I think today about optimizing the back office, and this is something that is ignored by AEC firms. Not everything is the design or the build; it's the business behind it as well. And so we just did this podcast, just came out, and it's about optimizing the back office. Is one of the many things we do. Really, a lot of value to it. But when we were talking about benefit of AI for our customers, Shaley mentions, you can say it if you wish, Shaley, but that there's plenty of application with the off the shelf AI components right now, like for instance around HR. And to bring up your point on the RFPs, I've been in the space forever. We've been doing collaboration, design work, custom services, and now product. Within that industry, it's the marketing department that frequently answers the RFPs, and they have to access who's certified and what kind of portfolio did they work on, what photos should I include. So if you have well orchestrated data about project of type, skill sets, success, and outcome that you can chew on with AI, that should greatly expedite the RFP process. And so think about it. If you win 10% of those awards, but you can increase the number of RFPs you respond to tenfold, that's a huge net savings. That's outside the strict province of design and build.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. You frame it very well, Joe. Thank you.
I try. Um, I've said this before on podcasts. I'm very good at looking smart by repeating smart things I've heard. That's I guess that's my particular forte. Yeah, and so finally on that note, I would also say that start your AI journey there, right? You would agree. Just the stuff. Well, you just said it, right? Start with HR, start with marketing, RFP responses, so that now your workforce can get a taste of it, and they can see their lives improve as a consequence of that adoption.
Yeah, exactly. Like these are common problems. Back to your point, Joe. And so, if there is a solution out there, there is something, then you can go and adopt it. And in the meantime, when you're addressing these common problems that you have, like the whole industry has, think about some unique opportunities that is just for your company, for your organization, because of what you do, because the way that you do the work, and see how AI can help you to expand, to scale that opportunity, the unique opportunity that you have. Because if when it's unique to you, to your organization, big tech companies or startup, they're not going to focus on it. It's like the TAM, total available market, is small. But so that's where maybe it worth to invest and explore if you want to do something internally in-house. But if something is general and applicable, like the whole industry has that problem, why you should go and invest on it, because eventually a tech vendor can do it better than an AEC firm, because that's what they do. They build software and solution.
Right, because I've been asked on our own product, well, do you who's your audience, right? Or is it architects, engineers, construction owners? And when I tell them we have a pretty wide swath, we have government, the whole bit, they go, "Well, why?" I go, "Because they all have these common problems." Right? They have common problems of efficiency, common problems of data aggregation that you can use. They have problems with simplicity of workflow management, reporting, and all that ops stuff that we're always on about. I guess then you would agree if they start with the low hanging fruit, the universal stuff that's out there for AI, that would be the beginning of the journey. And where would you go next with them at that point? So you start bringing on, let's say, Copilot, and you're doing stuff with HR. What from there?
One recommendation, and this is what we usually do in our process, is education. So make sure your employees understand the foundation of AI, and it's more than tools out there that are LLMs based, like ChatGPT, and it's more than that chat. It's like it has different techniques that can help you with your job, and it's really important to make sure that your employees are educated, because when we understand something, we are in support of that, and we know how to manage that, or how to work with it. But if not, then we're just pushing it back. We don't, because it's out of our comfort zone. And the second thing that we do with this company after education is having an AI task force, because the AI is changing fast. And I mentioned for the next 5 to 10 years, we are in the slowest speed today when we compare it to the next 5 to 10 years. So you have an AI task force that can help you with that AI strategy, setting the AI strategy, looking out to see what's happening, and based on what you have, the business strategy, that what you have internally, what you need to do. And once you did that, you should be able to replicate that innovation process within your company, not just with AI, but anything else that come up later down the road. So you need to have like a team that are educated and are focusing on that. And there are companies, AEC companies out there, that they even don't have like any innovation technology team, anyone that can take the lead on this aspect. And my recommendation is make sure that you have such a role who can take the lead, because you're busy with your day-to-day work. You can't spend enough time on figuring out the landscape. So it's good to have one person in charge of this.
Yeah, I've referred to the rise of the digital innovation officer, right?
Yeah,
It's a title I didn't even see until like 5 years ago, or at least in any great measure, and you've been seeing that escalate for reasons like this.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or chief data officer,
Yeah,
which is really important. Yeah.
and to pick up on your committee, SharePoint is my original background going back 20 years and the like, and that recommendation I always made to my customers, and still do, is to not push down, but to collaborate in a structured way, but to be inclusive in for AI to learn stuff to help you do stuff, it needs to learn from your employees, from your department leads. And there really should be a certain level of inclusiveness, I would think, in getting those, what would be a benefit to feed those people who would be managing that process, right? To be inclusive. That was my pitch on democracy. Doesn't always work though. Yeah. So as you march toward what would we like to do for AI? What would serve the business, right, on that journey? To not relegate that to like, three people, one guy you hired and two consultants, but to actually learn from the departments and the different areas, their vision of what they would find assistive, right? So if you're going to educate them on AI and its potential, wouldn't it make sense to get a feedback from them as to what they think would have value?
Yeah, and this is a good point. It's like some companies, they just have that AI task force from the executive level, and but that's not how it works. You need people in with that they do day-to-day work, and also people who are in the executive level. So the combination of these two can help you to set and lead your AI strategy and data strategy, because people who are in the business level, even though they've done some work in the weed level in the past,
They don't do the
Everything
daily
has
work,
changed. Yes, yeah, exactly. So you need to have a combination of both.
right? Because AI is supposed to assist you in doing the day-to-day repetitive stuff. So if you're an executive, kind of by definition, you don't really have a great handle on what that is.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know the business and you know like the revenue, you know those details. So you can bring those values in the conversation with people who do the work in their daily job.
Really, I can't think of any place else to go at this point. Sam, is there anything you would like to
Yeah.
add?
For the audience, if they're interested to learn more about how they start their journey, we have lots of resources on our website and they're for free. And it's yegatech.com/free dash resources. You can go even look at some of case studies out there and see what other AEC firms are doing in terms of their AI journey, if you like, and are curious to know what's happening with the leadership, those who are ahead of the game in the market.
Yeah, and if you have any thoughts or comments on our podcast, we really do welcome feedback as well. Richard Matzel, who's head of marketing here. Rick, if I can ask you a question, can people post questions to us either via the blog or from the page where the podcasts live? Yeah, and take suggestions, right? We're always looking to try to figure out, what's of interest to all of us in the industry. So we're very open to that as well. Anyway, I'm Joe Gigrich. Thank you for joining us today. Sam, true
Thank you
pleasure.
so much,
And
Joe, for having me. Richard Shelley for your support. I appreciate that.
of course, and Shaylee, as always. All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you next time.
Thank you.